But what mitigation does is takes into question why a person would commit a crime. And it's the why behind the why, the question behind the question. Mitigation is about reducing, mitigating a sentence less than the maximum. It is not about mitigating a crime, but mitigating a person. Because some of the crimes that we know of or that we are learning about are not something that honestly can be ever excused. And when we're thinking about mitigation as, or the crime like a capital murder case, then it's really questionable things that we couldn't really explain, if we wanted to. My clients, the evidence is heavy and it's very clear that they did commit the crime and the evidence against them is such. So, what do we do and how do we treat people who do commit crimes against other people or who, have, dehumanized another person and got caught and now they are facing prison time? And my mentor said it best that, 90% of people who are charged with a crime, arrested, go to jail, pass the grand jury, they're going to be punished. 90%. People aren't walking out of courtrooms or walking out of jail and getting charges dropped very often. So how do we make sure that those people are getting treated fairly and actually getting a fair trial or a fair chance at a unique sentence unique to the person, and which is what our justice system is all about. And there's case law that supports that a person should get a unique sentence for who they are. So I want to talk a little bit why I wrote the book. Throughout my career in mitigation, I just kept on really coming across tough situations where people didn't know who I was or what I was doing or that my job even existed. So I would get misunderstood as a cop or some type of investigator. I get, people think that I'm a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I do what people think a lawyer does. They think lawyers go out and interview people, and sometimes they do, but normally a lawyer is going to go to court, know the law, fight for your constitutional rights, get you a fair trial, make sure your rights are not being violated, and they know the law and how to protect you. And if the cops or the investigators from the prosecution didn't do what they were supposed to do, they can protect you with the law of that. But I'm not a lawyer. I never been to law school and I don't want to go. My job is to support the attorney and the person who's accused to help them with tools that will tell their story to get the outcome that we want, which is fewer harsh punishments. So one of the reasons why I wrote the book is because there's not a book out there like this, and there's something that needs to be handed over to family members and clients, people accused of a crime, to understand how their humanity and their story can save their life, save them some years, get people on board with standing up for them or working with their attorney, encouraging community organizing around their case, getting them some support. So a mitigation specialist is a person who is understanding not just the story of the client, but sometimes the story of their parents as well. So what's really important to me and most important to me is that people actually read the book. People who are accused of a crime, people who love someone accused of a crime, or anybody that might be a potential juror. It is my dream that a juror would be curious enough about mitigation and notice that it's missing and punish somebody in a completely merciful way because the job of telling the person's story was not complete. I want to say my friend Tynese She's my friend from elementary. She wrote the foreword to the book. And so I just want to give a little shout out to my friend Tynese. She wrote the foreword of the book, and when she was 22 years old, she got caught up in a case, and she was harshly punished and sentenced to over 30 years in the federal penitentiary. And in February of 2020, she was received clemency from President Trump. But her story was not told, which is such a shame. And so she was harshly punished in a drug case. So I asked Tynese to write the foreword because when I was discovering what mitigation was, so was she, because she was my friend. So the table of contents. So chapter 1, this book is for you, where I go through the whole if you're an attorney and you're reading this book, this is what this is about, but I just encourage you to buy this for your clients. If you are accused of a crime, this is for you because of this and that, and what will make you successful in your case. If you are a mitigation witness, a family member, or a loved one of a client, this is what you should, expect and what you can do to help the person that you love or care for, and kind of help them understand, like, if you see somebody on the TV that was your third grade student, I might come looking for you. So just to kind of put you on notice a little bit. And then if you are a mitigation specialist or you're new to mitigation and you wanted to get into the field of work, this is, I wrote for you too. So then chapter 2 is what mitigation is and how it was defined, which came from the ABA guidelines in 2003 for capital murder cases. People were practicing mitigation way before that. However, it didn't become mandatory until 2003. Chapter 3 is what the defense team is and what everybody does. Chapter 4 is why every case is unique and why it's so important that we think of every case as it being unique, because we all are unique to our thumbprint and our experiences and who is involved in the case, who the DA is, who the defense attorney is, what jurisdiction we're in, all of that. Chapter 5 is the mitigation process, which I've already talked a little bit about. Chapter 6 is what mitigating evidence is. Chapter 7 is the mitigation package. What are we gathering and putting together for an attorney, and how can we help, and what are the different tools that are out there available to us, from what a character letter is to, preparing for trial, what a trial rundown is. This is basically my playbook right here. And then chapter 8 is working in our criminal justice system and the conditions that we have to work with and understand and work to our benefit. What do we have going for ourselves? Even though the system is corrupt, racist, and terrible, how do we find success for our clients? And then there's a conclusion, and then there's an appendix that I wrote for more professional type people. But I want to say too, just as a lawyer, treating every witness with compassion and forgiveness and understanding is going to transfer to your client. So being thoughtful of how you treat every witness and having a storyteller mindset, that you don't waste the time of the witness or the jury, and keep the story dialogue moving even when it's uncomfortable, is actually pretty mitigating in action. So having an autopsy report read by the medical examiner and questioning them about their feeling and what they go through when they have to do that is actually quite mitigating if the defense does it, because it's putting that emotion in the courtroom or assisting for it to be there to help the jury go through their grief cycle, fighting humanity with humanity. I don't have a problem with DAs because they're just humans. And the human in the DA has and can identify with universal themes in the life of our clients. So if our client, for example, one universal theme is that they're a survivor, they're resilient. And I have a lot of examples of that, and that's what people are going to testify to, because that'll humanize our client. The DA in their own right, and I've seen them go through the battle in their mind in trial, not in negotiation, but in trial. Like, I'm lost, I don't know what to do. I can't go against this and that. What am I going to say? Like, and then they basically don't have a cross or a recross, because what are they going to say? They're going to dehumanize themselves, or they're going to dehumanize somebody on the stand. And jurors don't like that. Do I see a good deal of racial and social economic inequity? Yes. I mean, I would say that, you know, I work court appointed cases, but I also work private cases. And so in court appointed cases, there's a certain standard of practice that I have to uphold myself to, because there's not that much accountability going on. So my standards are my standards, and I don't work with attorneys that don't do certain things, right? So if you don't visit your client pre-corona, if you don't visit your client, I don't want to work with you. If you don't know what mitigation is, or if you are looking to understand mitigation, awesome. I'm happy to help with that, and I will give anybody a chance. However, if you refuse to educate the court about mitigation while I'm being hired, then I just rather not work with you, because I have to educate every case the court that I'm working with, which means I get appointed with a declaration that defines mitigation and exactly what I'm going to do and how much it's going to cost with a budget. So I would say that, yeah, you know, people who, you know, most of my clients are Black. If you go to an arraignment, everyone's Black, you know, more than, you know, I would say even 90% sometimes. And so we have to take that into consideration. Now, when I think or consider the racism of the system in my cases, it gets very particular because every case is unique. So if I see a race problem in my client's case or crime, how do we go about bringing that up to where it's mitigating and not aggravating? So that's unique to each case. But especially when all the attorneys are white, let's say, and it's really easy question pose on attorneys to kind of figure out where they are in their comfort zone. I say to the attorney, think about a time where you were racist to someone, and think about a time when someone was racist towards you. And let's develop those personal stories with yourself, because if you don't get in touch with that for yourself, you can't help another person on that problem. So when we go there, we have to go there really hard and make it really personal to almost everybody. And then it honestly is the attorney's strategic choice on what we do with it. But in my anti-racism training and my understanding with the cases and how to be a storyteller and to humanize something like race, we have to make it very personal, and we have to take that clean, sterile courtroom and we got to get it messy with emotions. That's really how it works. So definitely I feel like, you know, it just is unique to the person, so it's kind of hard to know, you know. But I just want to say I've been court appointed most of my career, and the court pays me nice money, and they get the best mitigation that they have to have. Because I seriously know other mitigation specialists and colleagues that practice differently than me. I'm not going to say not better. I'm just going to say different. So let me just read a few little things out of the book. And so one of them is about, is in chapter 2, Mitigation Defined, page 15. For the best possible outcome, It's vital to seek out a mitigation specialist almost as soon as attorneys are appointed on a case. Mitigation investigation fulfills certain responsibilities regarding sentencing and preserving a client's rights. Most attorneys do not have the time or law school training to properly investigate and catalog mitigation for presentation at the penalty phase of a trial. Now, less established attorneys may seek the assistance of well-established professional groups in their state, and it is important for the lawyer to seek funding and employ a competent mitigation specialist to assist with the investigation and cataloging of this important evidence. In that chapter, I go into the ABA guidelines. It's a little bit technical for some of our readers, but they can, Google things if they really want to. But more than likely, I feel like our clients are going to read, the defense team and like the mitigation process. Another thing I wanted to read is, so this is in chapter 8, working in our criminal justice system. When I visit a jail, it's packed, it is uncomfortable, it stinks, and it's very loud. No one can catch a break in there. No one is at ease. Every jail visit is a reminder of the disease of systematic racism. It is a reality check of just how incarceration dehumanizes our people. The facts are that our prisons are overflowing. We have one of the highest rates of incarceration in the industrialized world. And since the 1980s, prison sentences have sharply increased in length. And those burdens have fallen heaviest on people of color. Our criminal justice system targets and punishes Black and brown people and people living in the crisis of poverty more harshly than the privileged. In the courtroom, I've seen with my own eyes how many people in orange jumpsuits don't have the resources or fame to get the attention or the second chance or the mental health care they deserve, especially all the young people whose brains are not fully developed, which I know from my experience is often not even considered as a factor in young people's cases. In 2017, a judge thanked the defense team because the information I included in the mitigation packet helped educate the court on the basic of frontal lobe development.